The phone rang early in the morning, pulling the woman from her quiet breakfast. A worried voice told her about tiny kittens left alone by the roadside with no mother cat anywhere near them. Without waiting, she grabbed her rescue kit, a carrier with soft towels, kitten milk, and some wet wipes. This wasn't her first time saving animals, but each call still filled her with worry and hope. She knew that young kittens without their mother had little chance of living, especially next to a busy road where many dangers waited. The drive to find them took about 20 minutes, with many thoughts racing through her mind. How many little ones would be there? How young were they? Would they all still be alive? The caller had mentioned several kittens, but people often missed seeing all of them, especially if some had hidden in nearby bushes looking for safety. As she stopped at the spot, she saw them right away. Small bundles of fur huddled together under a scraggly bush by the road, their eyes barely open. The woman walked slowly toward them, keeping her movements gentle. Years of helping animals had taught her that sudden moves could scare them away, making rescue harder. To her surprise, the kittens didn't try to run as she came closer. Instead, their tiny heads turned to her, small mouths opening with silent cries that touched her heart. The biggest kitten even took a wobbly step toward her, as if feeling safe with her nearby. This unusual trust made her wonder if someone had handled them before they were left alone. She knelt down and carefully looked around for any sign of a mother cat. Sometimes people mistakenly rescue kittens when the mother is just away looking for food. She spent several minutes checking under nearby bushes and calling softly, but found no mother cat. The kitten's dirty, matted fur suggested they had been alone for at least a day. Their hungry cries and no protective mother around made the choice clear. These little ones needed help right away. With careful hands, she gently picked up the first kitten. The kitten felt lighter than she expected, a worrying sign that it needed water and food. One by one, she gathered all the kittens, checking each one as she placed them in the carrier. The smallest one, with patches of white and orange fur, seemed very weak, barely moving when touched. Time was running out for these abandoned babies. Arriving at her rescue center, which was really just her home turned into a place for animals, she took the carrier straight to the special room she kept for new arrivals. This clean, warm space let her check and care for them before meeting her other animals. The rest of her house was full of life. Over the years, she had taken in many cats and kittens who either stayed with her forever or waited for new homes. First things first. The kittens needed warmth and water in their bodies. She prepared a heating pad wrapped in towels and set it to low, making a nest that would keep the kittens warm enough. Then she mixed special kitten milk, knowing that regular cow's milk could make kittens very sick, using a small syringe rather than a bottle. Better for very young kittens who might not know how to drink properly yet. She slowly fed each one, starting with the weakest. The tiny orange and white kitten worried her most. While the others eagerly drank the milk, this one barely responded, taking only a few drops before turning away. She knew from experience this kitten would need extra care and maybe a visit to the animal doctor. She made a mental note to call the vet the next morning if the kitten didn't get better with the night's feedings. For now, all she could do was offer small amounts of milk every 2 hours, hoping to see the kitten improve with steady care. Between feeding the new rescues, she took care of her other cats, all of whom showed interest in the newcomers. Some of her older rescue cats had become surprisingly helpful with kittens over time, almost acting like parent cats who helped clean and comfort new arrivals. However, she always kept new animals separate until a vet checked them, understanding the dangers of illness spreading through all her rescue animals. By midday, she had set up a routine with the kittens. Each feeding showed small improvements. They were drinking more milk and showing more energy. Even the smallest kitten had begun to perk up, accepting nearly a full feeding by the afternoon. After each meal, she gently cleaned them with a warm, damp cloth, doing what their mother would have done. This cleaning helped their digestion and helped them go to the bathroom, another thing young kittens need help with. Between care times, she prepared for the next steps in their rescue journey. The afternoon brought another feeding time and more good signs. The kittens had started moving around more in their makeshift nest, even trying to play with each other in short bursts of energy. The smallest one still lagged behind but had definitely improved since morning, showing interest in things around it and trying to clean its paws. A normal kitten behavior that showed increasing strength. As evening came, she prepared for the night ahead, knowing sleep would come in short periods between feedings. She moved the carrier with the heating pad next to her bed, where she could easily hear any sounds of distress and respond quickly. Then she fed her other rescue cats their dinner, talking to them about the new kittens as she did so. Some of these cats had been with her for years, after other shelters thought they couldn't be adopted because of age or health problems. They formed the main family of her rescue work, keeping each other and her company. The evening feedings went well, with all kittens drinking eagerly now. She carefully weighed each one on a small kitchen scale, writing down the numbers to track their progress in the coming days. Even a small weight gain would be a good sign that they were getting proper nutrition. The smallest kitten had gained a tiny bit already, perhaps just from having more liquids in its body, but a hopeful sign nonetheless. Between the late evening and midnight feedings, she spent time looking for potential foster homes that might help once the kittens were stronger. She knew several experienced foster caregivers who specialized in young kittens, providing the intensive care needed until adoption age. She also updated her rescue's social media page with a short post about the new arrivals, careful not to share too many details until after the vet visit confirmed their health. The midnight feeding showed even more progress. All kittens now actively looked for the syringe when she approached, a big change from their weak state that morning. Their eyes, though still not fully open, followed her movements more alertly. The smallest one had even developed a tiny but mighty purr that vibrated against her hand as she fed it, one of the most rewarding sounds in rescue work. After this feeding, she allowed herself a slightly longer rest, setting the alarm for 3 hours later instead of 2. The kittens were stable enough now that they could go a bit longer between meals, and her own rest would ultimately help them too. As she fell asleep, the soft sounds of kittens breathing nearby mixed with the familiar presence of her other rescue cats curled at the foot of her bed. The early morning feeding came too soon, but she woke up right away when the alarm sounded. This time, she found the kittens already awake and moving, making small attempts to climb the sides of their carrier. Their increased activity was another good sign. Kittens feeling secure enough to explore showed both physical and emotional recovery underway. Even the smallest one joined these explorations, though with less coordination than its brothers and sisters. As morning light began coming through the windows, she thought about the change that had happened in less than 24 hours. Several tiny lives that might have ended beside a road were now on a path toward health, and eventually, loving homes. The day ahead would bring the vet visit and more intensive care, but the critical first part of rescue had succeeded. These kittens had a fighting chance now. Getting ready for the day, she gathered supplies for the upcoming vet visit. Her notes on feeding times and amounts, weight records, and observations of behavior. While the kittens still faced health risks common to young rescues like parasites or infections, their responsiveness and increasing energy gave her confidence that they would continue improving. She planned her day around their needs, knowing that consistent care over the coming weeks would transform them from fragile rescues to playful, adoptable kittens. The morning feeding showed the best results yet. All kittens actively competed for the syringe, showing normal hunger and feeding behaviors. Their bodies felt warmer and more solid, less like the fragile shells she had collected from the roadside. After feeding, she watched with satisfaction as they curled together in a tight pile, naturally seeking the comfort of each other as they dozed off. This natural behavior, so different from their frightened huddle under the bush, confirmed what she already felt. The rescue had come just in time. As she made breakfast for herself and her other rescue cats, she felt the familiar mix of tiredness and fulfillment that came with successful rescue work. The sleepless night and worry had been worth every moment. Later, she would face questions about space limitations, adoption possibilities, and growing vet bills. The practical challenges that every independent rescuer faces. But for now, she allowed herself to enjoy this moment of pure success. Several tiny heartbeats continued in the world because she had answered a call and taken action. The kittens slept peacefully in their carrier, unaware of how their lives had changed from certain tragedy to hopeful future in the span of a single day. Outside, the morning sun lit up a world often uncaring about the suffering of its smallest creatures. But inside this house-turned sanctuary, compassion had once again made all the difference. One rescue at a time, one day at a time, the woman continued her quiet mission, creating space for second chances and new beginnings in a world that desperately needed both. Before leaving to visit the vet, she took one last look at the sleeping kittens. Just yesterday, they had been alone and scared, facing certain death on a roadside. Now they slept in safety, their round bellies full of kitten formula, their future suddenly bright with possibility. This was why she did rescue work, despite the heartbreak and exhaustion it often brought. These moments of transformation, from abandonment to safety, from fear to trust, made every sacrifice worthwhile. She thought about the foster homes she might place them in once they were medically cleared and strong enough. She had developed a keen sense for matching kittens with the right temporary caregivers, knowing which homes could handle the special needs of rescued animals. But that was for another day. For now, these little ones needed her complete attention and care, the consistent presence that would teach them humans meant safety and kindness. With gentle fingers, she stroked each tiny head, feeling the delicate skulls beneath soft fur. As if sensing her touch even in sleep, the kittens leaned into her hand, their bodies instinctively seeking comfort. This simple gesture of trust touched something deep within her, the knowledge that despite all the cruelty and abandonment in the world, healing remained possible. One caring heart could change everything for a vulnerable creature. She carefully closed the carrier, ready to start another day of rescue work. The kittens would visit the vet, receive medical care, and continue their journey toward health and eventual adoption. But something had already been accomplished that could never be undone. They had been seen, valued, and saved. Whatever else happened, these little lives mattered, and someone had shown up for them when it counted most.